Hello you all, and welcome back to Living Unveiled with Maddie. I want to start this session with a true story. This is a story of how shame can grow into fear and how that fear can become a stronghold or a legal ground for the devil to take up space in your life. It is in those moments when shame attaches itself to financial struggle that many people hide, pretend, or carry burdens alone. And it is then that the enemy gains ground. Debt is something that is whispered about in church circles, never spoken out loud, and many are crumbling under the weight of it while still meeting their financial obligations in these same seconds. Debt itself is not something to be ashamed of, but the devil knows how to twist it, turn it, and make it into a stronghold, a weapon to shame, isolate, and enslave. Yes, to enslave. Now, there was a season in my life when I was deeply in debt. I had been betrayed by friends and I was walking like an elephant while eating like an ant. And the person I was most ashamed and afraid to tell was my husband. I was convinced he would be disappointed, and that fear made me hide everything. What I hid became a wound that would not heal. And slowly, I found myself sliding down an abyss I didn't know how to get out of. Then one night, searching through scriptures, I came across Zechariah 3:2-3. The Lord said to Satan, "The Lord rebuke you. Is not this the brand plucked out of fire?" In that moment, it hit me. My struggle was not just about money or friends. The enemy was contesting for my life. I realized that I was like Joshua. I was a brand that had been plucked out of fire, and that the secret I was carrying was giving the devil legal ground over my life. God then led me to a pastor, not even from my church, and he said one sentence that changed everything. "Go and tell your husband the truth." I obeyed. And within days, before my very eyes, I realized the chains I had carried for years began to break. Yes. It was also in that season that God revealed something I will never forget. He showed me through scriptures that when a woman goes into an agreement without the knowledge of her husband, she can bind herself to terms outside of God's design. But when brought into alignment, into the knowledge and agreement of her husband, those terms lose legal ground if he disapproves. We find that in Numbers 30:6-8. If a woman makes a vow or binds herself by a pledge while under her husband's authority, and he hears about it and says nothing, that vow stands. But if he forbids it, it does not stand. It was then I realized that my bondage was legal, relational, and spiritual. And it broke the moment I came into truth and alignment. Now listen, as I reflected, God began to show me a bigger principle about submission. He says submission is not a sign of weakness. Submission is a place of strength. Ephesians 5:22-24 says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church." In that moment, it became clear to me, the church submits to Christ, and through that alignment, it receives life, protection, and empowerment. Marriage works the same way. When a wife aligns her heart and her actions with her husband's God-given role, she isn't losing power. She's stepping into the strength and freedom that God originally designed for her. I began to see it like the human body. 4 of the 5 senses is domiciled in the head: sight, hearing, smell, and speech. The body executes movement. If the head moves to the right and the body goes left, friction would often happen. Energy becomes wasted. Injury can happen. The husband is the head and the wife is the body. Submission is alignment in function. It is not loss of voice, rather is it dormancy, but effective operation. Genesis 2:18 says it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. The word helper, Ize, is the same word used for God helping Israel. Women are called to be strength, strategy, and enablers of God's mission. Submission allows that power to flow. In Proverbs 14:1, we're told a wise woman builds a house, but the foolish tears it down with her hands. Look at the Proverbs 31 woman. She's strong, she's disciplined, and she's productive, but the foundation of her power is trust. Bible says in Proverbs 31:11, the heart of her husband safely trusts in her. Her strength exists within order, not outside of it. Submission does not weaken her, it releases her power. Submission is hard. It challenges pride, control, and independence, but it is God's will. Bondage continues where there is disorder. Freedom comes when we align, when we speak truth, and when we submit in the right spirit. In Numbers 30 verse 6-8, it reminds us that alignment restores what has been mismanaged. Submission releases protection, empowerment, and flow. It is not domination or oppression, it is kingdom order. The husband has his place, the wife has her place, and God's system functions. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. Alignment works both ways. Submission is relational, strategic, and divine. I don't need to tell you that this is you. If you are going through this right now, hand it over to God. Don't carry it alone. Talk to someone you can trust about it. Don't hide it. Secrecy is a trap of the devil. Women liberation is a trap and a lie of the devil. Understand this. Hiding gives the enemy legal ground. Bring it into light. Aligning with God and speaking truth is the first step towards freedom. And remember, as I shared in my book, The Master War, The Rebirth, these are very real struggles. The season of shame, the scars that turn into trophies. And my advice for you today is, let your scars speak. Let your alignment release light. Let God use your story for someone else's survival. Because your story is raw material for someone else. Until next time, stay unveiled.